Welcome back to Nick Lenz's movie review, episode number 79. This I'm reviewing the ninth James Bond film released, The Man with the Golden Gun. Yep, this particular film. This film is noteworthy for several things. One, it's the final film to feature Guy Hamilton as director for the film series, and the final film that Harry Stoutzman produced. Because after this film, Kelly Broccoli became pretty much sole produced the series up until Tomorrow Never Dies. Yeah, where his daughter and stepson took over the series. Yep. This is also the last film that kind of was, well, let's just say, kind of mixedly received because from next movie forward, it got better reviews. This film has, well, the return of this is Roger Moore's second appearance as James Bond. We also have a return of M, Moneypenny Q. Pretty much doing the same thing with same actors, no change. Though in the case of Bernard Lee, this was actually, on the top of my head, this is actually the third to last film he appeared in. Also, this is also the film debut of Bill Tanner. Yep, Bill Tanner makes his debut in this film. Uncredited, nonetheless. Yes, Bill Tanner. He appears for like one scene, and I should point out that after this, next time Bill Tanner shows up in the series, it's not into the film For Your Eyes Only. He's seen for one scene, gets some exposition out of the way, and that's it. Yep. The villain of the film is played by the ever awesome Christopher Lee. Yep. And by far one of his most memorable roles of his entire career. And when people think of Christopher Lee, there's about four characters people think of when they think Christopher Lee. Dracula, a character he played from the 50s and 70s. This film, playing Francisco Scaramanga. Count Dooku from Star Wars. And Sherman. Sherman from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Well, all the Lord of the Rings films, basically the first original three films, and the first and third of the Hobbit films. Yeah, he played the character like 5 times, which is probably the only character besides Dracula he's played more than once or twice. But fun fact about him as Francisco Scaramanga, after this film, he would actually reprise the role as Francisco Scaramanga in the video game GoldenEye Rogue Agent. I played the game. It is really, really bad. You want to know how bad? Watch Calvin Dyson's review of the game. The game is long. I mean, the only interesting though is see Ken Adams sets and Scaramanga in the game. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the few saving grace of this movie. I mean, here's the thing about this particular film. Film starts off very unusually showing out the main villain in the pre-title sequence, which has never been done before. Yes, there you have Francisco Scaramanga in the opening 2 minutes. Yeah, he's probably like one of the first things you see. You cut to his island where you see him and Miss Anders. Yep, that's what she's credited as, Miss Anders. Played by Maud Adams. Well, Audrey Anders. Yep. Fun fact about Maud Adams. This is one of 2 films she appeared in as a Bond girl. She would not appear again into the second to last Roger Moore film. Yep, she returned for that as a different character. Basically, Octopussy. I will talk about Octopussy when I get up to it. Yep. Her character is basically just there to be, she basically is Scaramanga's mistress. Yeah. We also see return of one of the guys from the previous movie, one of the actors anyways. Yeah, playing a completely different character. He's just some random hitman that Knick-Knack hires. I just put out Knick-Knack is played by Harvey Valcents, who's known for being on the series Fantasy Island with the ever awesome Ricardo Montalban, the guy known for playing Khan. For Harvey Volts, this is actually one of 2, like in the case of Christopher Lee, this is one of 2 characters he's basically memorable playing. Of course, also the guy who says, the plane, from Fantasy Island. I, of course, never seen Fantasy Island. But I do know about him saying that. Yep. Now, in the case of this particular film, Knick-Knack is by far Scaramanga's henchman. He is the only noteworthy, he's the only named henchman in the whole film. He has one other henchman who just works in some factory that just happened to be on Scaramanga's Island. Yep. Pretty much, basically, Knick-Knack hires people to kill his boss. His boss, and here's the thing, Scaramanga knows about this. He basically is hiring these people for being a challenge to him. He gives them money, basically half years later. We see Francisco Scaramanga's awesome funhouse. Yeah. Like, runs to Al Capone, Western, eventually gets killed by Scaramanga while basically looking for his golden gun. I've heard in the novel he doesn't have this particular. He has a golden pistol, but he doesn't have this particular gun. Also, this gun does not exist in real life. It's made of a pen, a lighter, and something that's made like 3 pieces. Yeah. This particular film, I believe, is if I can bring it up here. The book itself is the 12th novel of the series. Yep. And in the novels, this takes place, the novel of Man of the Golden Gun takes place after the events of You Only Live Twice. Though this film was adapted, this book was adapted several films after that. Yep. And eventually, Scaramanga kills the guy. See, like, a statue of Bond where he shoots off the statue's fingers, and apparently it looks like it shoots off his groin, and that's it. Bond's first appearance in the film is basically going to M's office, where we see basically Tanner, who is simply just called Chief of Staff in this movie. Yeah, and yeah, I do agree that there's like nothing to this performance at all. It's like just a guy who just delivers exposition, and that's it. The other guy is with him. No idea who this character is. They don't name in the movie. It's just some random British guy with a mustache, with a suit coat, vest, and outfit. Like suit and vest. Yeah. Apparently there's a bullet with Bond's number on it. Finds out Sam has a hit on him. It's revealed that there's no hit on him. The letter was sent by Anders. Yep, it's very sent by her. And this film basically does some really weird things. He has to go find this particular bullet. Like, he also has to find the solution to the energy crisis. By the way, that energy crisis was real, because the film came out in the early 70s. The film came out in 1974, a year after the crisis. Yep. A man called, of course, he was appearing in the film. Yeah. So, he learned and had to find this Solex agitator, which is the MacGuffin for the whole film. Yeah, the whole thing is about getting this particular thing that's about the size of my smartphone. Yeah, it's about the size of this. Get this one thing, and Bond leaves. Well, at the end, if Bond gets the thing. Find this particular energy conserver, and he's eventually killed by Francisco Scaramanga with one shot. Yep. And he's brought to by Lieutenant Hick. Yeah, this guy is a character who is supposed to be an ally of Bond in this film, but he doesn't do much of anything. There's also one point in the film Bond is left at a school where it looks like he's rescued thanks to the help of his niece, and he basically leaves him at the school. As for why he does this, it's never explained. Just that maybe he forgot. Maybe it's some deleted scene that he basically goofed up. Yeah, and they also basically kind of, when they have basically see M, first time, this is actually the second time in the series he's outside of London. Yeah, this time he's on the USS Elizabeth, which I've heard is a real ship. Yes, it is a real ship. Apparently, it's a wreck. Yeah, I'm looking at the picture right now. Yeah. And this wreck has been there since the 70s. I personally have never seen it. in person. But yeah, this wreck is real. And though the set they basically based on, they couldn't probably shoot. They could probably the exterior is probably the HMS Elizabeth, but the interior is probably just something made from set. They also apparently find a Chinese submarine for some reason. I don't know why. And by the way, this is about when this film came out. This was roughly about a little over 20, about almost 30 years before Hong Kong was returned to China. Yep. And of course, they go undercover, find this particular guy, whole fat, and basically how he breaks in is pretty interesting. Just hops over the wall. Yeah, this guy's got very terrible security. He's able to see a woman who's skinny dipping. Bond is about to join her, and then we have possibly one of the worst gadgets of the whole series, a third nipple, because apparently Scaramanga's got a third nipple for some reason. Yeah, this is never explained. Just some prosthetic they had Christopher Lee wear in the movie. It is really, really weird, to say the least. And they have him say he's Scaramanga because they're nipple. Okay. Even though Bond never was given the assignment to go undercover as Scaramanga. So yeah, have dinner there, and then of course he comes later. He gets knocked out, about to get killed, and he says take him to school, and that's where the karate school comes in. Yeah, pretty simple school. It's a very odd dojo where it's held outside. Most dojos I've seen in fiction are usually outside in a regular building, not some outside thing that like this is. At least Bond is basically treated with respect in this scene. Yeah, he's giving some ladies, they give him some massage, they give him a drink. Yeah. And he challenges the son of the head of the school. Yeah, he basically takes him to like a fight. Well, this other guy's like pretty stupid. Yeah, Bond just basically, he just bows and Bond just kicks him. Yep, that's it. He fights the other guy, defeats him by cheating, jumps out a window, runs away from the students, and apparently the school is run by these kids, these two schoolgirls' father. Yeah, and eventually he just bonds on the run. He hops into a speedboat. Yeah, and we also return of Sir J.W. Pepper. Last film, his appearance there was fine because they were in New Orleans with his American accent. In this film, there is no reason for him to be Hong Kong. It's just him and his wife. She was mentioned in the last film. This film she's seen, and apparently she likes being here for some reason. Yeah, see some wooden elephants. Yeah. And Bond gets away. Of course, when he meets up with Odd Anders, like, okay, how they meet is quite interesting. He just basically follows her, and then just breaks into her room. Eventually, she puts on a bathrobe, and then comes the most controversial scene in the whole film. Something that Connery only did in one film. Take a woman and slap her around. Yep, that indicates this one. Basically, at least they don't have the character being claiming to be in love with him, and just being freaking nuts. Anders is pretty sane. Yeah, slap twice, and it basically only breaking the woman's arm. It's like, they had the bottoms up tonight. Bottoms up club, okay. Yeah. I have heard this was the producer idea to basically emulate Connery. It's been like, at this point when this film came out, it's been like over 10 years since From Russia with Love came out. This was completely unnecessary. And last time I checked, since that film, Connery has never slapped around a woman in any of his movies. Yeah, anybody who's watched Connery's films, with the exception of Rush with Love, he has never slapped a woman. As a matter of fact, he doesn't even kill women in the film. I mean, the first woman he actually kills is not Into the Wall is Not Enough. Yeah, Bond does not kill women at all. He doesn't even harm them. Not even the female henchwoman. Yeah, a lot of the time they get killed by some trap or some bomb. But does Bond kill them? Nope. He's basically very chivalrous like that. And for some reason we have to have this woman get slapped. This is also the very same area where he introduced to Mary Goodnight, who's actually appeared in the several novels. This movie is her only appearance, played by Britt Eklund. Should point out though, Britt Eklund and Maud Adams, before and after this film, didn't do very much. Though Britt Eklund did have somewhat of a career, though her last one was released back in 1989. She's done some TV work and that. She's had an okay career. Maud Adams has done virtually almost nothing. Heck, the guy who plays whole fat has pretty much nothing. This is his last film he was in. Because I looked up online, apparently like about his first 20 films he was in, he was never credited. At all. So I'm thinking, why would you not credit this guy? The guy who played Richard Woe actually is not that bad of an actor. Heck, he's actually quite interesting on screen. And then he gets killed by Scaramanga. Just cuz. And he tells one of Hellfast's subordinates, like, what happened? Mr. Fat just resigned. I'm the new chairman of the board. And this goes nowhere. Well, not in the case of the film. It gets resolved a little bit later. And then they have it where Audrey beats up Miss Bond later in her hotel room. Of course, they have, well, Mary Goodnight just there, and the thing basically turn off Bond, meets up later, throws in the closet, and then, like, talk with Adams for a while, and then apparently off screen these two decide to have sex. Okay, Bond wants to get midnight right there, and then she's like, nope, I'm done. Pay for 2 hours. So yeah, maybe next day, killed off screen. Audrey Adams basically just killed, just like that. Yeah, she's killed, shot in the chest by Scaramanga. And you have this really good scene, like right after they discover her, right after Bond discovers her body, and you have Scaramanga show up. It has this wonderful scene talking about like an elephant. Yeah, Lee basically is fantastic, basically, and stuff like this. Giving exposition is one of the best things he can do, and he's basically does a fantastic job. He's considered by far one of the best Bond villains of all time, the Scaramanga. And of course, Christopher Lee, before his untimely passing a few years ago, was considered to be one of the most respected actors in the whole entire world. Heck, before he died, he was shooting a movie. And the guy said he was in his 90s. Still acting in his 90s. Must be in good shape. Yep. So, eventually he's like, talks for a while, he walks away, and of course Bond just finds Solis attitude just lying on the ground. And eventually gives it to Lieutenant Han, who gives it to Mary Goodnight. And then she just follows around Scaramanga for some reason. Ends up in his car. They follow him around. And of course, they try to. And of course, Bond just happens to hop in the car with J.W. Pepper. Chase around traffic. Eventually, they get to this warehouse. Well, for some reason, they decided to put wings on this car. Okay. And then the car starts flying. Yep, a flying car. And of course, Q has this funny one. It's like, yeah, we're developing that right now. It's like, and M's like, oh, shut up, Q. Okay. Yeah. Also, fun fact, this is also the first film that Q has shared a scene with M. First time since From Russia with Love. Yeah, as far as I can tell, this is the first time since that film they've actually shared a screen time together. Off the top of my head, I think the next time officially they would do this is actually in the next film. They do it in the next film and the following film. I don't remember if they do it in the last few films. Actually, they did it in the final film, but with Bernard Lee, at least they did it in his last two films he did of his career, which was quite nice of them to do. But yeah, it's great seeing Q and M sharing a scene together. Moneypenny and M have shared several scenes together in a few of the movies. Matter of fact, in this movie they don't. I know they did in Emergency Secret Service. They did it in several movies, but yeah, it's great to see this. Eventually they go to Scaramanga's Island, which is basically off the coast of Hong Kong. And Bond just flies there in a plane. Yep. And basically, we have Nick that comes around, and then we have Scaramanga shoots out the cork of the bottle. They have dinner, and they have a duel. It's like, you're Walter PPK against my golden gun. Okay. and they proceed to have a duel. Then take 10. They basically do back to back. Walk 10 steps forward. Bond turns around, shoots, and basically Scaramanga disappears. Yep. And of course Bond runs around the fun house, runs the Scaramanga, shoots him. And of course, Ben Eklund's character, Mary Goodnight, is a complete idiot. Shoots, basically throws a goon into this reactor, starts exploding. Bond basically gets this whole action. First, he actually goes back. This was something he goes back to because he's first shown this thing in this laser thing, which basically blows up his plane. And then he goes off with Midnight in this Chinese junk which belongs to Scaramanga. And then he's just like, oh yeah, we're going to send autopilot, and we're going to be in Hong Kong in like 2 hours. Okay. Yeah, not the first time this junk has appeared in the film. They actually had this junk appear like after Scaramanga is one of his kills, when he had Anders in basically in this bed. Yeah, actually it's appeared. This was the third time it appeared in the film. It's like, okay, let's have Bond take this thing, even though he knows this junk belongs to Scaramanga somehow. The movie doesn't explain how he knows that. Like, okay, they go off and they run the knick-knack, and he has a brief scuffle with him while he's throwing wine bottles at him. And he basically puts him in a suitcase, puts him in a cage top of the ship. And the movie ends with basically Bond and Goodnight just having sex. So of course, Bond has done one of his few films where he's basically ended the film with talking to M. Yeah, this is actually the first film that actually this happens, where Bond talks to M at the end of the film, where basically M gets contact with him. This actually does not happen in the last film. As far as I can tell, this is the first this actually happened. This would not happen. This actually happened in the next 3 films, where at the end of the film, M would basically come in contact with Bond toward the end of the movie. Yep. But yeah, this is a pretty good movie overall. Oh, who sings the song for The Man with the Golden Gun? Let's see if I can find it here. The Man with the Golden Gun. It's a good song. Let's see if I can find it here. Let's see. The song is basically done by Lulu. Yeah, it's a Scottish singer. It's actually a pretty good song. Yeah. Has like finger across the gun. Yeah. I mean, by far, the best character of him aside from Bond is Scaramanga. By far, one of the most interesting villains of the whole series. But here's the thing about him. He has only one henchman. And he survives. Yeah, it's actually the first time in the series they have a henchman of a villain who actually survives, because generally at the end of every film, like, all the henchmen die. The only henchman who was never confirmed to be dead in the films was Irma Bunt. The only reason why that was because they couldn't exactly confirm her death because the actress passed away. Yeah, at least Blofeld died. All the rest of the villains died. This film, basically, there barely was any villains. That's the thing about this film. Unlike the last film, which had a pretty good number of villains, this one just Scaramanga, Knick-Knack, and probably a minor villain, basically in high fat. And that's it. Yeah, but at least next film has some pretty good villains. Yeah. In the next episode, which will be my 80th episode of this series, I'm reviewing a film that a lot of people love, including Prince Charles himself, The Spy Who Loved Me. You get my thoughts on that film tomorrow. And this is my last video I'm recording today. And tomorrow I'm reviewing not only that particular movie, also the newest episode of Black Clover, the newest episode of the manga, and the newest episode of Fairy Tail, okay? But to you next view. Bye.